Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. The eastern region of the Central Plains basically belongs to the Xiao clan. Other than a few of them, the many various fractions there are all vassals of the Xiao clan. However, the Xiao clan seldom manages them. Usually, most of the people of the Xiao clan all live in the Xiao realm. Jinsha continued to explain, Xiao realm. Xiao Yan was once again startled when he heard these unfamiliar words. Any experts who reach the Do Xing class are basically standing on the peak of the Do Qi continent. At this level, one would have already surpassed the ordinary and would have stepped into the holy level. The strength that one would possess would naturally be far from what an ordinary person can imagine. Opening a realm where people could live is an indicator of an elite Do Xing. Jinsha sighed. His voice contained extreme envy. This Xiao realm is built from the extremely strong Do Xings of the Xiao clan over the generations. After a countless number of years of strengthening and expanding, its size could at the very least be comparable to the northern region of the Central Plains, even if it cannot be compared with the entire Central Plains region. That place is uniquely owned by the people of the Xiao clan. Hence, the ordinary people from the Central Plains do not really understand it. Xiao Yan gently inhaled a breath of cold air. Opening a realm. Was such a frightening thing really something that a person's strength could achieve? An elite Do Xing was so powerful it ended up making one feel disbelief. Xiao Yan felt himself tremble when he thought of the frightening strength that could tear space apart with just the lift of a hand. This was already the case for an elite Do Xing. Then just how terrifying was the even stronger Do Di? By comparing the two, the mysterious ability of an elite Do Di being able to change their bloodline mentioned by Jinsha did not appear to be some cooked-up story. Even I am not certain on how one enters this Xiao realm. If not for the many members of my gold-swallowing mouse tribe, it is likely that I would be far from qualified to be aware of so many secrets given my strength. Jinsha shook his head and spoke somewhat regretfully. Xiao Yang nodded. He was also satisfied by learning so much information related to the Xiao clan. Although the Xiao clan's strength was extremely great, he would definitely break into that place for Zun, even if it was extremely dangerous. Although Xiao Yang was uncertain how many experts were within the Xiao clan, it was likely that there would not be any less than that of the Hall of Souls. Xiao Yang's strength was insufficient even though he had currently broken through to the Do Zone class. However, this did not become an obstruction to Xiao Yang. Once I rescue Yao Lao, I will head to that Xiao clan. Regardless of how special you are ultimately humans. Xiao Yang clenched his teeth and spoke viciously in his heart. He did not feel any fear just because of the great strength behind the Xiao clan. Zuna had waited for him for so many years. Regardless of the situation, he needed to make a trip there. Otherwise, he was heartless. Looks like I should quickly expel the fire poison in Jinsha. The 4-pavilion grand meeting that Mu Qingwan had mentioned is about to begin. If I miss it, I don't know just when it will be before I can find Feng Zunjia. Jin Jiu efficiency had somewhat exceeded Xiao Yang's expectation. Before noontime, all the things that Xiao Yang needed were delivered into his hands. A fog floated within a rock house on the slopes of a mountain. The fog contained waves of dense medicinal fragrance and a transpiring heat. Thank you, Mr. Xiao Yang. Our gold-swallowing mouse tribe will definitely not forget this favor. If there is anything that requires our help in the future, you can come and look for the old me on the Heaven Eye Mountain. Jinsha solemnly bowed to Xiao Yang as he spoke in a deep voice. He could sense the change in his body. A disease that had been with him for so many years could finally be expelled. Currently, his heart was quite excited. Xiao Yang beamed. He looked at Jinsha, whose spirit was much better. His hand suddenly rubbed his chest. There seemed to be quite a frightening poison also present within his body, the demon poison spot. This thing had also pestered him for many years. Although he had yet to find an elite Do Zun, Xiao Yang had already advanced to the Do Zone class. His ability to resist it had also significantly risen. I wonder if I am able to rely on my strength to refine this demon poison spot with my current ability. If I am able to obtain the Do Qi from a Do Zong's lifetime, it would likely be a great tonic to me. Xiao Yang's heart involuntarily became heated when he thought of this. His intention to deal with the demon poison spot was not something that he had been thinking about for just 1 or 2 days. During the next few days, Xiao Yang would spend nearly 10 hours to help Jin Shi expel the Heaven Mountain fire poison within Jin Shi's body on a daily basis. Under his effort to expel the poison, Jin Shi's spirit was getting better every day. Hence, his attitude to Xiao Yang gradually changed from the treatment of someone equal to the current courteous and respectful one. Although Xiao Yang had just broken through to the Do Zone class not long ago, his other status as an alchemist was sufficient to cause a person at Jin Shi's level to treat him politely. After all, everyone knew what a lucky thing it was to be able to befriend a high-tier alchemist. Xiao Yang's remaining effort, during these couple of days, was spent on the demon poison spot within his body. Every day that this time bomb-like thing, which had pestered him for a few years, was not removed, it would stay a thorn within his heart that would cause him to always feel a little uncomfortable. Through his study, during this period of time, Xiao Yang had also gained a much deeper understanding of the demon poison spot. However, he did not recklessly do anything. This demon poison spot was extremely frightening. If the little fairy doctor had not placed a seal on it back then, it was likely that it would have long since erupted. Xiao Yang might have already broken through to the Do Zone class, but it was best if he did not take the initiative to remove the seal. It would not be too late for him to act when he had more confidence. A fire was burning fiercely within the wooden basin of a rock house permeated by hot air. Only the middle spot of the house was void of hot air. That place was where Jin Shi's head was protruding from the medicinal water. At this moment, Jin Shi appeared extremely energetic. Both his aura and his liveliness were far from what his previous sickly self could compare with. Clearly, the expelling of the poison by Xiao Yang during this period of time was quite effective. The fog permeated the place for a long time before it slowly thinned. The medicinal water within the wooden basin had also become clear. The medicinal liquid within it had already entered Jin Shi's body. Xiao Yang waved his hand and returned the glazed lotus heart flame to his body. He also sighed in relief. It was fortunate that he had currently reached the Do Zone class. Otherwise, with his previous strength, it would have been difficult for him to perform such a long period of poison expelling in such a relaxed manner. Jin Shi leaped out of the wooden basin after having put on his clothes. He sensed the life force that seeped out of his body and a joy surfaced on his old face. He cupped his hands and solemnly said to Xiao Yang, "Little brother Xiao Yang, a simple thanks does not do such a big favor justice. The old me shall remember this." Xiao Yang grinned. He took out 2 jade bottles from his storage ring and handed them to Jin Shi. He uttered, "I will leave tomorrow. This is the medicinal liquid and medicinal pill needed to expel the poison. Most of the fire poison within your body has already been expelled. Hence, there is no longer a need for me to use the heavenly flame as a catalyst. You should have already learned the poison expelling method during this period of time. Hence, I shall not say anything more about it. If you follow the method, the fire poison in your body will be completely removed within 2 to 3 months." The black cluster wiggled and a thumb-sized, black line separated from the body before rushing to the gap. Xiao Yang's mind tensed up when he saw that black line shoot out. The jade-green flame around the seal became turbulent, like a sea of fire, as it surrounded the area around his chest until nothing could seep out. The black line successfully penetrated through the gap, and a dense wave of fishy stench spread out. This fishy stench contained an extremely corrosive strength. However, it was fortunate that Xiao Yang had the protection of the heavenly flame. The moment these fishy stench appeared, it immediately emitted a kai-kai sound and swiftly turned into nothing. A coldness also flashed through Xiao Yang's eyes as he looked at the dark black, somewhat sinister line. If he had yet to break through to the Do Zone class at this moment, it was likely that this demon poison spot black line would have turned his body into a complete mess. Fortunately, the current him had truly reached the Do Zone class. A thought passed through Xiao Yang's mind and the jade-green sea of flames around his chest immediately transformed into numerous fire dragons. These dragons were accompanied by a low, deep roar as they surged toward the black line. The demon poison spot black string seemed to display an uneasiness when it faced such a large-scale encirclement by the glazed lotus heart flame. With the growth of Xiao Yang's strength, the power of this glazed lotus heart flame had also soared. Back then, just refining a tiny demon poison spot black line had exhausted a long period of time. If Xiao Yang were to do it again at this moment, he had the confidence that the refinement speed would decrease by at least 10 times the amount of time it took before. While the thread of the demon poison spot was feeling uncertain, the fire dragon instantly arrived. The flame swept over and surrounded the black line. After which, the flames twisted together, transforming into a cluster of fierce green flame that wrapped the black line and swiftly began to refine it. Faced with the refinement of the glazed lotus heart flame, the demon poison spot black line also began to resist. Waves of corrosive fog unceasingly surged into his body. After which, the fog collided with the surrounding flames. After having absorbed all the dou qi within the 10 clusters of poison, Xiao Yan could vaguely feel that his strength had improved. Although this feeling was not very obvious, it was considered quite incredible. After all, each star within the Dou Zone class required an extremely great amount of energy. If Xiao Yang were to train in an orthodox fashion, it was likely that he would require nearly 3 to 4 months in order to reach this stage even with his speed, yet he was able to reach it in one night. This effectiveness was already quite great. There was a massive gap between every star within the Dou Zone class. Hence, the classification within the expert Dou Zones were a little more detailed in the central planes. Every star was divided into 4 levels. They were entry, intermediate, advance, and peak. However, such differentiation was too subtle. Hence, very few people would measure another in such a manner. However, it was quite useful when using it to measure one's own strength. According to Xiao Yang's guess, he should be currently at the intermediate level, after having absorbed the dou qi within the demon poison spot. It is indeed very difficult to raise one's level in the Dou Zone class. No wonder First Elder's level did not experience a great increase, despite having trained for so many years. Xiao Yang sighed softly in his heart. He took out his clothes and put them back on. Currently, the dou qi in his body had reached saturation, and needed a period of time of adaptation, before he could once again absorb dou qi from the demon poison spot. Fortunately, with his current strength, the demon poison spot no longer posed a fatal threat to him. Instead, this thing was treated as a movable dou qi warehouse by Xiao Yang. Looks like it is time to leave. The 4-pavilion grand meeting is about to be held in a few days. Xiao Yang leaped down from the bed. He mused for a moment before packing his things properly. After which, he did not stay any longer. He pushed open the door and simply walked out. When Xiao Yang walked out of the room, the gold-swallowing mice guards standing by the side hurriedly bowed to Xiao Yang. He waved his hand and without saying anything, stepped onto the empty air, and appeared to be walking on the stairs leading to heaven as ascended into the sky in front of the envious eyes of those few guards. Xiao Yang overlooked the Heaven Eye Mountain as he stood in the sky. He involuntarily smiled and walked forward. This was something that he had dreamed of. It was unexpected that he was able to fulfill it now. 2 figures hurried over when Xiao Yang rose into the air. Little brother Xiao Yang, are you going to leave now? Jin Shi appeared. He looked at Xiao Yang and hurriedly asked. Xiao Yang nodded and laughed. I still have some matters to attend to and cannot remain here for long. Thank you both for your great hospitality. If I have time in the future, I will come and visit. Jin Shi and Jin Jiyu could not say any other words to get Xiao Yang to stay after they heard this. They immediately replied in deep voices, Little brother Xiao Yang, the gold-swallowing mouse tribe owes you a big favor. If you meet any trouble in the future, please do not forget about us old fellows. Xiao Yang titled his head. The gold-swallowing mouse faction a large population, and remained up to date with the news in the Central Plains region. It was naturally a good thing to befriend them. Cuckoo, looking at your anxious face, the 2 of us shall not hold you back any longer. We will pray for your journey to be smooth. Jin Jiyu smiled, cupped his hands, and spoke, in that case, I shall borrow Elder Jin Gu's blessing. Goodbye. Xiao Yang smiled. He cupped his hands to the 2 of them, and did not stay any longer. His body moved and transformed into a light figure, which rushed out of the Heaven Eye mountain range with a swoosh sound. Within a couple of blinks, he had already disappeared from Jin Shi's and Jin Gu's sight. The name of the Wind Lightning Eastern Pavilion held a heavy weight throughout the Central Plains region. Being the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, this place was filled with many experts. Its defenses were also extremely solid. During the years since the Wind Lightning Pavilion had been founded, it had experienced quite a number of tribulations. However, the Eastern Pavilion had always remained standing. Its reputation had gradually formed from many fights between factions. Only after all that did it gain its current status. The 4-pavilion grand meeting, as the name suggested, was naturally conducted by the 4 pavilions in the Central Plains. Although the main characters were the 4 pavilions, each season of the 4-pavilion grand meeting would be a grand event within the Central Plains region. Although it could not be put in the same category as the pill gathering of the Pill Tower, it was also a rare event. This 4-pavilion grand meeting was not a competition between the experts of the older generations. Instead, it was a competition for the younger generation. Of course, the younger generation, who could represent the 4 pavilions, were naturally the most outstanding people among the younger generation of each party. New blood was the most important thing if each faction wanted to survive. Hence, the 4 pavilions paid great attention to the younger generation. Under their great focus on grooming the younger generation, it was natural that quite a number of outstanding individuals had appeared among them: the Wind Lightning Pavilions Feng Qing'er, the 10,000 Sword Pavilions Tang Ying, the Yellow Spring Pavilions Wang Chen, the Falling Star Pavilions Mu Qingluan, etc. All of these people possessed some reputation across the entire Central Plains region. Of course, the Central Plains was one where many outstanding individuals were hidden. No one knew just where Dark Horse would suddenly appear. Even though this was the case, each of the 4-pavilion grand meeting would attract a countless number of strong young people from many factions. The main characters of this grand meeting were usually the 4 pavilions, but it did not reject some other competitors. However, in order to increase the quality, it naturally possessed a necessary filter. Moreover, it was rumored to be extremely harsh. This had eliminated some of the people who were there simply to inflate the numbers. After all, among the competitions between the younger generation, the 4-pavilion grand meeting was considered to be of a superior quality. Even some of the experts from the older generation had difficulty achieving the requirements. The location where the 4-pavilion grand meeting would be held was usually decided by the party who had won the last season's competition. The victor of the last grand meeting was the Wind Lightning Pavilion, hence, the location this time was decided to be the Wind Lightning Eastern Pavilion. The grand meeting is about to begin today. Naturally, there will be a lot of people. It is rumored that the people from the 4 pavilions have already arrived. The final victor in the last competition was the Wind Lightning Pavilion. I wonder just who will be the victor this time around. It is difficult to say. Feng Qing'er, Tang Ying, Wang Chen, and that Mu Qingluan are no ordinary people. It is rumored that these 4 entered the Heaven Eye Mountain Range, Heaven Mountain Blood Pool some time ago. Their strength will definitely have improved. I wonder if any one of them borrowed the strength of the blood pool to break through the Do Huang class. These 4 people have the strength at the peak of the Do Huang class. Adding their tactics, they are even able to exchange blows with some expert Do Zongs. Whoever is able to break through during this period of time will definitely win, who knows. There are an unknown number of talented individuals in the Central Plains. There are always some dark horses appearing in each of the 4 pavilion grand meetings. I wonder just who will appear this time around. Dark horse her. Naturally, it is that young man called Xiao Yan, who has stirred an uproar within the northern region recently. Even the Wind Lightning Northern Pavilion's chief returned empty-handed after personally chasing him. One can just imagine how terrifyingly strong he is. Xiao Yang might be strong, but this place in the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Do you think that he dares to come here? Xiao Yang was involuntarily startled when he heard the conversation around him eventually talking about him. His hands could not help but rub his face. It was unexpected that he possessed such a reputation in this northern region. However, this was not what he wanted. If his name were to spread to the ears of the Hall of Souls, it was likely that things would become even more troublesome. Xiao Yang successfully entered through the entrance of the mountain range amid a terrible noise. There were disciples from the Wind Lightning Pavilion maintaining order around the entrance. Other than some special guests, ordinary people were not allowed to fly in the air above the Wind Lightning mountain range. This had resulted in Xiao Yang, who did not wish to expose his identity, being forced to walk in. Upon entering the mountain range, Xiao Yang swiftly separated himself from most of the human flow. After which, he turned to a deserted forest, increased his speed, and swiftly rushed to the interior of the mountain range. From the information that he had heard earlier, today should be the start of the 4 pavilion grand meeting. Moreover, the thing that excited Xiao Yang most was that the people from the 4 pavilions had arrived, which meant Feng Zunja should have arrived. If I really meet Feng Zunja, it is best to observe him quietly before making contact with him. Although teacher has said that I can trust him completely, it is always best to be careful. Xiao Yang's figure transformed into a blurry one that shuffled through the mountain range, while this thought lingered in his heart. The heavy burden of rescuing Yao Lao and his father were things that Xiao Yang needed to complete. Hence, he needed to ensure his safety. It was best to be cautious about any uncertain factors. The Wind Lightning mountain range was extremely vast. Even with Xiao Yang's speed, he still spent nearly half an hour before reaching the middle of the mountain range. There was a magnificent and steep mountain located at that spot, Lightning Mountain. Most of the people chose the road on the left side under such strict criteria. Xiao Yang hesitated for a moment before following the human flow to the left rock road. His aim was merely to find Feng Zunjie. He was not interested in fighting within the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Some trouble would be unavoidable if he ended up recognized by others. While most people were climbing the rock road on the left side, there were also a couple of young people who felt that they were quite strong, intending to attempt the right path. However, all of them were swept aside by Elder Hua without exception. These people might have barely met the requirement of a 3-star Do Huang, but it was clear that they were those that relied on medicinal pills or some natural treasure to support them. Their fighting strengths were similar to that of a 2-star Do Huang. The Huamu elders did not even raise their eyes when fighting these weak fellows. Xiao Yang by the side also laughed in his heart when he saw this. After which, he increased his speed and stepped onto the rock road on the left. Wait. Xiao Yang's feet had just stepped on the rock road when Elder Hua by the side suddenly turned his head before Xiao Yang could even climb up. Elder Hua frowned as he looked at Xiao Yang. The fist under Xiao Yang's sleeves was tightened when he heard this cry. He turned his head slowly and looked at Elder Hua. Elder Hua's eyes slowly swept over Xiao Yang's face before faintly saying, "You seem to have reached the qualification to participate in the competition. Why don't you give it a try?" Numerous gazes shot to Xiao Yang when these words sounded. There were many people earlier who had not passed the test, yet this fellow, who appeared ordinary, possessed such ability. I am not interested in the grand meeting. The reason I have come here is to search for someone. Xiao Yang's voice appeared a little hoarse under his suppression. After saying these words, he ignored Elder Hua, turned around, and climbed to the top of the mountain, leaving behind a group of stunned gazes in the process. This fellow is too arrogant, no. The old woman beside Elder Hua knit her brows, glanced at Xiao Yang's back, and asked, "Is there something wrong with that person?" "I don't know. I only sense the natural fire affinity energy suddenly fluctuate a little when he stepped onto the stone road. For some unknown reason, this person gives me a kind of inexplicable feeling." Elder Hua knit his brows and bitterly laughed. He sighed. "It is most likely just an illusion." The mountain road immediately emitted numerous exclamations and envious noises when they saw the 7-colored large crane. Xiao Yang's gaze also paused on that 7-colored large crane. He did not take another look at the colorful crane. Instead, his gaze locked onto the graceful figure on the back of the enormous crane. Looking at that familiar back, this lady was indeed Feng Qing'er. The enormous crane did not pause, because of the numerous exclamations from the mountain road. With a flap of its enormous wings, it charged into the clouds and quickly disappeared. Xiao Yang slowly withdrew his eyes after the enormous crane disappeared. His brows were involuntarily knit together. There was definitely something on that lady hiding her aura. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Xiao Yang to not be able to see through her strength with his current ability. Looks like this woman is not simple. I have seen the people from the 4 pavilions. If I really want to compare them, this Feng Qing'er is the most dangerous. Xiao Yang revealed an expression of being deep in thought as he muttered to himself in his heart. Those that he did not know were the most frightening things. Tan Ying, Wang Chen, and Mu Qingluan might be strong since they possessed their own trump cards that could fight with an expert dozong. However, the 3 of them did not give Xiao Yang such a dangerous feeling. Only this Feng Qing'er caused him to be unable to see through her. Part 1 end here.